Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names, kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you. Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight it is the winter horror special. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've done some Christmas horror specials in the past, and even though one of these is technically a Christmas movie, I was like, you know what? I'm running out of Christmas horror. There really just is not that much quality, good Christmas horror. And I was like, what am I going to do for a show concept for this? And I decided, I was like, hey, let's do winter themed horror movies. So it doesn't necessarily have to have the Christmas theme in there, even though I'm rocking the Santa hat. I'm rocking the ugly Chris Jericho making a list Christmas sweater with, yes, the fun bright red and candy cane colors. So I'm rocking and rolling. I don't have my signature eggnog. I forgot to go to the fucking store and get some eggnog. So I sincerely apologize because I actually really crave eggnog and I just do not have it right now. So instead, I'm drinking agua. I'm drinking the good old agua. So cheers. But I do not have, unfortunately, the eggnog that I usually do. Hopefully next week for the horror roundtable, that's when I hope to have the delicious drink known as eggnog. So hopefully looking forward to that. But tonight we've got not one, not two, but three winter horror movies to review. Of course, we have 30 Days of Night, which I have the DVD for here. We have Dead End that celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. And lastly, but not leastly, Let the Right One In, a little Swedish horror movie from 2008. Very excited tonight. What's going on in the chat? Let's check it out. Miss C is here. Ciao, Grande and friends. Ciao, Miss C. Hope all is well with you. Let's see. We got Murdsy's Movie Mansion in here. Got a warm sweater on for tonight. What's up, Grande and Graveyard Fam? You got one on too? Are you rocking an ugly Christmas sweater? I got to know. Let me know. Let me see what it looks like, man. Send me a DM or something. Happy December to Dismember. Yes, the monkey is in the house. What's going on? Mentioning bad old school ECW pay-per-views that cost Paul Heyman his job. But who's saying? Santa Grande in the graveyard. Ho, 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 in this motherfucker. Let's see. We got Corey with a smile and a snowman. I know the director of Let the Right One In went on to direct The Snowman, that's a movie better left forgotten, my friend. Hey, Mernsy and Monkey saying hi to the M's here. Texas, THC 1965. Hola, Senor Grande. Hola, my friend. Hope all is well with you all the way from Texas. You got your shirt in under the buzzer, my friend. I placed the order that night, and you were like, yo, hit me up with a 5XL in the morning. So I got you. We ordered that one 5XL for you. I got some 4XLs. I think we had a 3XL, and we got a bunch of XLs and larges and mediums and all this shit. So I'm very excited for the shirts to come in. That's going to be a few days after Christmas that they get delivered, and then I'll start shipping them out to your candy asses. So very excited about the Grande's Graveyard shirts. We got people saying hi to one another. We got the monkey saying Grande will slay this stream. Hell yeah, buddy. This is Santa's sleigh up in this motherfucker. Let's see. I just skipped a bunch of comments. There's also a 1997 horror movie, Jack Frost. It's a horror comedy. Yes, that's right. In the sequel, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowmen. Slasher Fred, welcome to the house, my friend. I've not talked about either Jack Frost or Jack Frost 2. I like Jack Frost 1. Jack Frost 2 I have not seen since I'm a little kid, when it was airing on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I would have to revisit that one. I got my Sasquatch Xmas sweater today. Hype for the show. Hell yeah. Ugly Christmas sweater night in the graveyard. I mean, come on. I know it was not planned, but wear your ugly Christmas sweater. Pause it. Put your ugly Christmas sweaters on, and let's celebrate this son of a bitch. Dude, anytime. Thank you for your support. We got Gizmo in the house. Hey, Grande, is a black Christmas hat something dark and somber? I put a short film I made when I was 20 on my channel some days ago. $0 in budget, but shot an old school studio cam. That is awesome, man. If you want to share the link here, please do. I got to check that out. A little bit of some old school Gizmo, low budget horror that he made with no budget. That's a lot of fun. So we got to check that out. Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande. I have a sweater on. It's not ugly. I'm Italian after all. Hi to the whole chat. Welcome, Mateo. I'm glad that at least somebody's got a pretty sweater on. I've got the ugly one. We all got did you get the hoodie? So I had to argue with, Custom Ink, who ended up printing the shirts for me, because initially, for some reason, they decided to add their own design to the pre-existing design I sent to them. They added some white highlights, and Corey has seen it. It looked like shit. And I had to reach out to them. I'm like, yo, why did you add anything to this? And they were like, oh, we just thought it would emphasize things. I'm like, no, don't fucking add anything. So unfortunately, I was not able to add. However, Once this gets delivered, I have like a month where I can place at least 5 more. So if I need 5 more of anything, I could place it. So the answer is yes, I'll get your hoodie, but it's going to be delayed. It's going to be January-ish when that comes. But hang in there. I'll get it to you. I know it. I will. Let's see. People saying hi still. Hope you're good. We got Anthony Chobot. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Dude, I'm doing well. Hope all is well with you, my friend. Cheers to this wonderful Thursday night. And yeah, we're going to get right into this son of a bitch. So everybody, like I said before, and like I'll say before, I'll say it again. Cheers to everybody in the land, to everybody in Grande's Graveyardville. Cheers. And I say, let's get the winter slasher. Well, no slashers here, but let's get the winter themed horror underway with a little movie that came out in the year 2007, directed by David Slade, who was a music video director and also before this directed a little movie called Hard Candy that scares me to this day with, of course, Patrick Wilson and Elliot Page. One of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen in my life. The scene where Elliot Page is convinced Patrick Wilson that, she has chopped his dick off. That is one of the scariest scenes of all time, in my opinion. And this was his follow-up. This was his follow-up just a few years later. Of course, producer Sam Raimi, who I know we were speaking about last week when it came to the Grudge and bringing Takashi Shimizu into America from Japan. And then, of course, here we have another horror movie that Sam Raimi did not direct, but he did step in to produce. This is 30 Days of Night. Yes, 30 Days of Night. Brief plot synopsis. After an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires. Yes, vampires. So 30 Days of Night is an interesting title. I mean, this movie is over 15 years old now. I mean, it's absolutely wild because I can remember the trailers to this when it was coming out, and I was quite intrigued as a kid. I was like, I actually kind of want to see 30 Days of Night. Like, I thought it looked interesting. I thought it looked, it was definitely a marketable movie. It made quite a chunk of change. I think it made over $60 million upon its initial run. I want to double check myself there. Yeah, it made $75+ million worldwide against a budget of 30. So it made a nice chunk of change here. It was, of course, based off of a graphic novel that was written by Steve Niles, who has done tons of great graphic novels and things like that. And this was in, development for years. I believe the development and the talks of this started 2001, early 2002, where they wanted to get this movie made. I know they had a ton of board meetings, and tons of ideas. And 5 years later, we ultimately get the movie that we go on to get. Of course, it stars Josh Hartnett, which I always loved in The Faculty. And I like him in Halloween H2O. I mean, it's a bad movie, but I like him in The Black Dahlia. He's not the problem. The Black Dahlia is a dark piece of Brian De Palma shit that we all would like to forget. I'm pretty sure Brian De Palma would even tell you that. I like him, though. I like Josh Hartnett. I think he does a good job in this. Of course, his wife, played by Melissa George, who I always remember, Mernsino, is from Mulholland Drive. This is the girl. Yes, of course, she was Camila Rhodes, and she's a pretty good actress. I mean, she's done, like, Triangle, which is an interesting horror movie from, like, 2009. Really cool little mind-trippy thriller horror movie. I like Melissa George. I think she's a pretty lady. And they're this husband and wife. Here he plays like this sheriff / deputy kind of guy that is like the lead cop of the town. And they are preparing for their polar night, which is going to last a month. It's 30 days straight where the sun will not rise. And of course, she misses her flight out of town. And then, of course, these bloodthirsty vampires show up. And they want some blood, baby. If you want blood, ba-da-da, you got it. Long live AC/DC. But this is an okay to good, solid, passable horror movie. Now, I do have problems with it. I will get into. This is a horror movie that I think could have been great. And dare I say this, I think, honestly, this should have just been a series. I think this would have been very interesting if, let's say, Showtime or HBO, or I'm not sure if Netflix might have been around, but they weren't Netflix yet. Like, they really hadn't found their identity yet of being this, like, global conglomerate of fucking entertainment and streaming and all that stuff. This was around the time where if Netflix was around, you would get the DVDs sent to your house or the Blu-rays sent to your house. This is right around the time where the format wars were going on. Like, there was the HD DVD versus Blu-ray, that whole fucking thing, which that was so fun back in the day to see which is going to win. Of course, Blu-ray reigned supreme because of audio technicality. But I mean, this was one of those movies that I definitely think could have been a show. I think it should have been a series because, again, you have 30 days to play with here. You could have had 30 episodes. You could have done 3 seasons, 10 episodes apiece, and you really could have just dragged this out to, like a 3-season series. I think that would have been really, really cool. Now, I think for what it is, it's solid. It's passable. There's some things I like in it. But at the same time, I don't know if I love this movie or even would consider it great or anything like that. But we can get into that. Let's see a couple of comments and then we'll dive into this a little bit deeper. Let's see. I can wait. It surely be freezing cold still. LOL. Thanks, Grani. I apologize. I tried, but they were like, it's already placed. So whatever. I was very fucking angry with them with the trying to change the design, but I'll get it to you. I will get it to you. I found a Jack Frost 2022 movie on Tubi. I don't think it has anything to do with the Killer Snowman. I have not seen Jack Frost 2022, so I would not know. Yeah, Hard Candy is one of those movies. If you have a penis, you cannot watch Hard Candy and like not be fit. Like that movie disturbs me to this day. Because it's just such a fantastically made movie. Like, it's just such a mind fuck. You're just like, holy shit, this is uncomfortable. And like, it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, it never loses its initial impact. Like, it's hard to watch the first time you watch it. It's hard to watch the 5th time you've watched it. It's just one of those movies that always, retains its impact upon viewing. I'm a big fan of Hard Candy. There was a Tales from the Crypt episode called Comes the Dawn that was sort of like an inspiration for 30 Days of Night. It takes place in Alaska. It starred Michael Ironside. That's correct. I actually forgot about that episode. That's a cool shout out to that one. I'll have to give that a look. Mystic Mac is in the here. He's getting frosty in the son of a bitch. Just like our good buddy Soulless Trenchcoat. The ending of 30 Days of Night killed me. Did it kill you, Grande? Well, we won't get into the ending yet. We won't get there quite yet. But let's see. 30 Days of Night came and went back in the day, but everyone recognized that movie was special. Such a cool one. Death could be a series. Yeah, I think that's really where this should have gone because my main issues with it is that it actually just doesn't flesh out the characters. Like, to me, on paper, this is what this movie is. I think that this movie, in a lot of ways, saw the Dawn of the Dead remake. And they were like, let's do that, but with vampires. It is a very similar style direction. It's a very similar look. It almost feels like a Zack Snyder movie at times, and not for the best, unfortunately. Like, I would say Dawn of the Dead 04 is way better than this movie because I think it got the characters, it got charm, it had heart. This movie doesn't really have much of that. I mean, aside from these lead two, and not that they have that much to do here, I don't really think the characters work at all in this movie. I think that's the biggest problem is the side characters. Like, you have 30 days, you have a month to play with. And I feel like I barely got to know any of these people aside from stereotypes, which to me was a problem. I thought that was a problem here, which we'll get into. John, thoughts on Josh Arnett? I'm sorry. He packed so young, but then he disappeared. I'm assuming Josh Hartnett, I think you mean, right? Josh Hartnett. Yeah, I like him. Like I said, I like The Faculty. I like Halloween H2O. like I was saying before, he's not the problem in The Black Dahlia, but the movie itself is a problem. I like the actor. I always did, always will. But I agree with you. Yeah, he just sort of disappeared. He was kind of the flavor of the month for a little while. And for whatever reason, did not, catch on after that. He just is one of those guys that, I kind of wish we'd see a little bit more nowadays. He's one of those guys that kind of, sorry, I just hiccuped, disappeared from the spotlight here. Netflix horror movies suck. Just my opinion. Well, it's a little gem. I could see that. I could see saying it's a little gem. Netflix in the mail. I remember the packaging was always soaking in the mailbox. If it, that's amazing. I never ordered DVDs from Netflix, but I remember like during their infancy, that was the thing. It was like, oh, get it delivered straight to your mailbox, and you could like get all these weird movies and shit like that. So we got Sean Blue Digital here. Hey, good evening, Graveyard Crew. Cheers to Sean Blue. I got to get this taste out of my mouth. It's like hiccuped it. It was like all gross. See, this is why you need eggnog, right? Like, it's way better than water. I blind watched Hard Candy with my mom. Holy shit. That must have been hysterical. Saw this one in the theaters. I really dug the vampire running as fast as a car and jumps onto the roof. Yeah, no, it has that where the zombies in it are very 28 days late, or the vampires in it are very fast zombies, 28 Days Later or Dawn of the Dead 04. That's really what they feel like here. But I thought for the most part, the vampires really worked here because they made them almost like sharks. Like I felt the vampires in this movie were like sharks in the water. And not only were they sharks just looking for food, but they were sharks that wanted to butter you up. And like, what do I mean by that? The vampires in this movie have like dark black deep set eyes that almost look like shark eyes, and they have these long shark teeth. And I thought the vampires really worked in this movie. Aside from when they're trying to talk, I thought that was kind of like they're like, I'm like, God damn it, spit the fucking peanut butter out and just speak, like, or don't say anything at all. To me, it ruined a little bit of their credibility some of the times where the vampires were trying to speak. But the look and the design and the feel and the tone of these vampires, I thought really worked. They were scary. They were cold in an otherwise cold film, a cold setting. I thought they were really cold. There's a great scene where this woman and these other two guys, they go out of work, and I guess they're like threesome fuck buddies. I mean, they don't really explain it. Again, just things with these characters, which in a 30 episode miniseries, that could have been something else. They have a fucking, all right, episode with some threesomes, but we never get to see this threesome really happen. It's this one woman, she comes out and there's these two guys and she's like, all right, so flip a coin or play rock, paper, scissors. Who's going to fuck me first? And I'm like, what the fuck? This lady is like, who's going to fuck me first? And then basically they do their rock, paper, scissors or whatever. And one of them just gets taken away into the darkness out of nowhere. And I was like, damn, that, like, I did not see that shit coming. Like, I was like, that's good, like, really good. And then later on, she's surrounded by these vampires, and instead of attacking her right off the bat, which they could, they almost butt her up as like, an old Freddy Krueger kill where they get close and then they step back, or they'll cut her on her cheek and she's crying and begging for help and please don't kill me, please don't kill me. I thought that stuff worked. I thought the horror of the vampires and their malicious intent, and not just that, but their, again, buttering you up and the blood in the water type of deal. I thought that stuff really worked. I liked how the antagonists were portrayed in this movie. I think they did a good job. Crazy movie. Hell yeah. 30 Days of Night really hasn't aged well. Oh, okay. Expand, please. Tell me why. Tell me why you think that, man. I would love to hear that. I'm a big fan as well. I own all 4 copies of Hard Candy in full screen and widescreen. I didn't know there was 4 copies. That's crazy. Yeah, characters are one note. That's like, while a movie like The Dawn of the Dead 04, I feel like I got to know all of them, even if they were stereotypical, some of them. Like the guy who's like the asshole from Modern Family. Yeah, he's the asshole from Modern Family, but even he had a personality. I don't see much of that in this. I think that's the biggest, like, damn. But again, with a series, you might have been able to flesh out more of these characters, and then we could have got to know them a little better, maybe care about them a little bit more. I think that's the big thing. I don't really care for any of the characters in this movie. I need to revisit 30 Days of Night, but I agree with the characters. Yeah, I think it's worth a revisit. This is, around the time of the year where I think it's good to watch a movie like this, a winter-themed horror movie, because it does do the technical aspects right. And I know David Slade, he was a guy that came from the music video world, and trust me, I'm not a big fan of the guys that generally come from the music video world. I know Fincher's an exception, but I mean, you look at the guys that come from that tree, if you will, that filmmaking tree. You look at Samuel Bayer ass. You look at, Marcus Nispel. You look at a lot of those guys, I forget the guy's name who did the Amityville Horror remake. Those are not filmmakers. Those are glorified, music video directors that just decided to get handed a budget and try their hand at horror, but they didn't really know what it was. Now, I know David Slade came from that same world. I think he did a better job here because the movie, from a violence standpoint, from a kills standpoint, does work. I don't ever think it gets quite too gratuitous, whereas with a movie based on a graphic novel, I might have gone gratuitous. Like I personally, if I'm in the charge here, if I'm the director, if I'm David Slade, I'm going gratuitous. I'm like, dude, we've got a freaking 30 Days of Night. We got vampires. We've got, this cold atmosphere. I really want to make this thing as bloody and gory as we can make it, to the point where you can taste the blood right off the screen. It's bloody and the blood is good. I think the practical gore is good. I think some of the CG holds, but I don't think it gets quite to the level that it could. I think it could be a little bit more gratuitous. Dial that tone a little bit past 7, maybe to 8 or 9, and I think you would have had something really memorable here in the gore department. But again, you're dealing with a more, I forget what studio put this out. Columbia Pictures, Ghost House. Yeah, they're not going to go over the top gratuitous like an independent horror movie would. So I think that's a little thing that I always like. I don't know. This is one of those movies I like it, but I feel like it could be so much better at the same time. I'm weird like that with this one. Lucky number 11. Let's see. The Master of Fear is here. That's a name I haven't seen in a while. Hope all is well with you. Thoughts on 40 Days and 40 Nights? We saw a lot of him then. I've not seen that movie, so I can't tell you. Corey's laughing at something. Netflix in the mail. You bring back some memories. Well, this was that time, man. 2007. Let's see. I remember 40 Days and 40 Nights. Russ is here. Hey, Grande. Hey, buddy. The CGI in this movie is dog shit. Okay. I do agree the characters in the movie. I watched it last winter and realized it just doesn't hold up very well. I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. Maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't hold up very well. Like it, I don't want to spoil the ending, but there's an effect at the end that definitely did not age. Like I cringed. I was like, oof. I was like, that CG in particular didn't age well. But I don't know. Did you think the gore in particular did not work in this movie? Like I thought the gore for the most part worked, but I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I need to watch it in Blu-ray because I did watch it in 480p. So maybe I need to, upgrade this one. This is I think I still have it was $2.99. It could say on the back. So I got this for $3, buddy, back and at some flea market at some point. Hey, Russ, 40 Days and 40 Nights. The girl was smoking hot. I think her name was Sossaman or something like that. Well, all right. Now you guys I really want to see what the hell this movie is. Like, what are you talking about? 40 Days and 40 Nights. We're going to take a brief detour into the Josh Hartnett filmography here. From 2002, this movie. I've never seen this. Shannon Sossaman. Who in the hell is that? Oh, shit. Okay. Emmanuel Vagar is in this movie too, who is also in Saw 2. Oh shit. Okay. All right. We're gonna have to add this to the watch list. So it gets a 5.6 on IMDb. But you know what, guys? I trust you guys. I trust your tastes. We'll give it a shot. 40 Days and 40 Nights with my man Josh Hartnett. One of my favorite winter horror movies is the original The Thing. Oh, of course. From Another World. That movie was the inspiration for many sci-fi horror movies like Alien. And I don't know, I forget if you were there or not, but we did a versus episode. I believe that was the first versus episode I ever did, was The Thing versus Alien. And that was a really fun one. So if you haven't checked that out, Fred, that was a really fun episode. James Abernathy is in the house. Welcome, James. Hope all is well with you. It felt unique, but 30 Days never connected with me. Yeah, it's not a classic. It's not great, but I would say it's passable. It's solid. It's good. It's definitely worth a watch, I would say. I agree. I don't think it's great at the same time. It's not one of those movies that like you grab for every winter. It definitely doesn't have that status, but I think it's worth a look. I definitely do. But welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Haven't seen 30 Days and 30 Nights in a long time. Definitely need to give it another watch. Okay. Let's see. Good brother Brett is here. The ghost face himself. Didn't mind 30 Days a Night when I saw it. Okay. In 40 Days, 40 Nights, the scene where, wow, this 40 Days and 40 Nights movie, it's like, this is the talk of the land. I should fucking scrap the whole episode. We should just watch that. In 40 Days, 40 Nights, the scene where Nicole, played by Vanessa Shaw, is the main protagonist, played by Josh Hartnett. It was so shocking. What the hell? And I love Vanessa Shaw. She's in the Hocus Pocus movie. She's in the Hills Have Eyes remake. That's a good-looking lady, man. What the hell? We got to see that. We're going to have to check this movie out. Hello, everyone. 30 Days of Night is a decent retelling of Salem's Lot. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, 30 Days of Night being a retelling in the, snow of Salem's Lot. Very interesting take there. Ben Foster's character probably could have been utilized better. I agree. I definitely agree with that. Funny you mentioned Ghost House. Yeah, well, this is Sam Raimi produced this, so it's funny enough. These things come full circle. What are your thoughts on Danny Houston as the lead vamp? He's okay in this, but I hate the actor so much. I think he did a good job. I think he created a good screen presence. I think he's memorable. I think the vampires are well done in this movie. I like that they have a little bit of a personality. Again, the talking part of it doesn't work, where they're like, I was like, why did they, like, this is terrible, unless it was maybe that way in the graphic novel. I really don't know. I'm not as familiar with the graphic novel, but like, I thought the look of them was good. I like the scene where they do like a whole, I thought this was interesting for a movie like this. In a winter atmospheric horror movie with vampires, you never think you're going to get like a home invasion kill scene, and you get that in this movie. It's a very interesting scene where the vampires break into the home, and there's this record, and they're torturing this family, and he puts the record on the player, and instead of playing with the needle, he puts his long fingernail, his long, dirty, black, disgusting fingernail on it, and it starts to play the music as this family is getting tortured and killed. I was like, damn, like that's like an exploitative element that just feels completely like from another movie that they just threw in here. And that worked. I was like, that's unsettling. And I thought that particular scene really held up. And I was like, wow, like this is a very interesting, like, monkey wrench in this entire movie that you just don't, necessarily think you're going to get when you first watch it. Another horror film from where I didn't know there was a sequel. How many sequels are out there that I don't know about? That's right. There is a sequel to this. It came out like 3 years later. This is one of those sequels where they wanted everybody back that, does survive in this movie, and none of them wanted to do it. So I never bothered. I believe it was direct to video. Never bothered with the 30 Days of Night sequel. If you have seen it, let me know if it's any good. Let's see. Slasher Fred, Josh is hallucinating, so it's cut in with a dream sequence. Oh, okay, I'm sorry that you guys are still talking about that 40 Days movie. If the film is enjoyable, it's definitely worth a watch, in my opinion. Okay. Forgive me here. I'm still recovering from that fucking hiccup. Shit came up. Hello, why are we talking about? Yeah, I know. I'm like the same way. I'm like, what the hell? Is forgettable until it is remembered right now. That's right. Sean is shooting the breeze. I like the main vampire 30 Days of Night. Feels like a mob boss. Yeah, he does. Let's see. I just said the girls high. That movie was good. Let's make this very clear, guys. Okay, that means the movie is probably shit. I got to add that 30 Days of Night looks quite good on Blu-ray. Yeah, no, I really should upgrade because this definitely, it almost was like watching with sunglasses. I'm like, damn, like I definitely need a better copy of this, but it is what it is. Let's be honest here. Yep, absolutely. God, no God. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a great scene where, they're getting tortured and someone says, please, God. And he looks up like kind of like God? No God. There is no God. Like you're doomed. I thought that was really cool. And again, like sort of a nod maybe to a Freddy Krueger. This is God. That's what that kind of reminded me of. And I thought it worked. I thought that worked. I really did. Now I want to watch 30. Yeah, no, we got to do a double feature, 30 Days of Night followed by 40 Days and 40 Nights. I say 30 Days of Night is due for a 4K. Yeah, I think this movie would look good in 4K. I'm surprised that there isn't one yet. It's been 16 years. There's a horror movie called Wind Chill that I've seen. King loves that scene. Okay. It's no longer 30-day stream. It's a 40-day stream. Yeah, I needed 30 days 4K. Favorite Christmas meal. I love Christmas. Well, my birthday is the 23rd. And then generally the following day, my mom always will make like a big seafood spread. So that would be my favorite Christmas meal, like scallops, mussels, a shellfish of some kind, usually shrimp, like shrimp scampi or shrimp marinara, depending on what you want. I love that. Calamari. I like grilled calamari. I think grilled calamari is the way to go. But that's just me. I enjoy that. I would say seafood, the cookies. Yeah, no, gotta love cookies, especially if you're Santa. But a little bit more into the plot of this movie. Sorry, the chat is live. The chat is a lot more live than it was last week when we were talking about Takashi Shimizu and Ju-on, White Ghost, Black Ghost, beginning of the end, Final Curse, the whole 9 yards. But that's totally understandable. This movie, okay, like I said, the characters definitely needed some work. I think they needed more fleshing out. But again, you only have so long, and this is almost a 2-hour movie, 113 minutes. So almost 2-hour movie. Again, it just, they didn't have a chance to really expand or grow those characters. But what they do with the horror and the atmosphere and the, sequences of horror in this movie, I thought did work. I thought they did work for the most part. You have an interesting scene where this guy is, you're not going to get me. You're not killing me. And he decides that he's going to kill himself and like try to blow up some of the vampires with him. He sets this thing on fire, it explodes. He doesn't die somehow from the explosion, even though he's right on top of it. And all the vampires just kind of like lay back. and then they like kind of walk up to him and squash his head. I mean, while he should have probably died from the explosion, I thought the payoff to that was kind of funny. I was like, okay, this is if like the heroic guy that's trying to be like, you're not getting me, I'll kill myself before you kill me, trying to go out in a literal blaze of glory, and ends up, screwing up. I thought that was kind of like, oh shit, I didn't expect that. You have an interesting scene where Josh Hartnett, in order to save his wife and get some of the people out of the town, he decides to inject himself with some vampire blood in order to fight them back. And he like immediately changes and has this interesting fight. And I thought that stuff worked too. I thought it was like kind of heartfelt, and I was kind of excited for his character to take on these vampires at the end and try to clean house and stuff like that. And I thought some of the action sequences worked there. And I thought it was a nice kind of heartfelt thing where he pretty much sacrifices himself in order to save his wife, in order to save her, and so she can live on, and then he kind of becomes a vampire. The movie ends where at the end of the 30 days, they're watching the sunset come up, and we know what happens to vampires when the sunrise happens. They turn into, dust, and that's what happens here. That CGI effect did not age the greatest. That one, I agree with Sean Blue. That one really did not age the greatest. He screams, and it kind of fades to black. I don't know. I think this is a decent enough to good to solid horror movie. It's nothing great, it's nothing spectacular, but I do think it's worth the watch around this time of year. And I had a decent time watching it on Monday night. I'm going to review these in the order I watched them, and I thought this was solid. This was one of those movies that like I don't feel like a lot of people do discuss anymore. Like maybe that's a reason why there's not a 4K. Maybe this movie at the time it was a hit, and at the time it warranted a direct-to-video sequel. But this is not a movie that a lot of people bring up. This is not a movie that a lot of people talk about. And while I can understand that, at the same time, I'm a little bit surprised. Like I'm surprised there isn't a bigger fan base for this movie. Now, I do think, like I said, it could have been done better. I do think, dare I say it, I'm never one to say this. I'll contradict myself. I think you could easily reboot this as a series now. Like do it as a series now, and do it like have some studio agree to 3 seasons, and you could do 10 episodes a season, and it's each one is a night. Each one is an episode is a night. You do 30 days of night, 30 episodes of a series. I think that would be really cool if they did something like that. And they wouldn't all have to be hour long. You could do like half-hour stories, and then you have 15 hours to play with and adapt characters and make these characters, more fleshed out. I think that's the big thing that they could have done there to improve upon this final product. Again, though, not a bad movie at all. One that I would definitely recommend. I would come in at like a 6.5 out of 10. I think 6.5 out of 10 is fair. I think the acting is good. The direction is fair enough. I do think some of the editing here is kind of sloppy, but again, he's a fast-paced music video director. That's more of the style they were going for, that Zack Snyder, Dawn of the Dead 04 type of deal. And it does work for the film, but I do partially like envision a movie like this if it was done by a more gothic horror filmmaker. Like this will sound interesting. I don't know what people. I'm curious with the chat what you would think of this hot take here. This is a hot take. Imagine if like someone like Tom McLaughlin directed a movie like this. Like I think that would be much more up his alley with me. Like I think Tom McLaughlin would have done a really good job with a movie like this because he's more gothic horror. He's more old school. I know it would have been way more slow burn. You definitely wouldn't have had even the blood and violence that you have in this movie that would be in that movie. I know that's how Tom McLaughlin works. But again, I think, while I would have gone personally more gratuitous with this violence, I think it would have been interesting for someone to take a more gothic approach to it. But again, adapting it from a graphic novel, maybe you should just go for the fucking all the blood in the world. Maybe Robert Rodriguez would have been a good guy to make a movie like this. Although I don't know if he would have got the atmosphere as good as David Slater or Tom McLaughlin. I know he would have brought the gratuity and the blood and the violence and probably a little bit more levity. I think that's the thing with this movie too. It doesn't have that much levity to it. There's not a laugh to be had in this movie. It's basically 10 minutes in and we're into the shit. Like there's no real, lead in. It starts off, we're going. A bunch of dogs get slaughtered, and we're just thrown into the freaking meat grinder alongside some of these guys that lose their hands and their heads and all of that good stuff. So I don't know. I like this one. I'm curious to hear what more of you guys think about this. If you catch the replay or if you want to give me your full review in the comments, please do. Definitely want to hear it. But this one for now, I'm going to come in at like a 6.5 out of 10. I like this one good enough. I definitely need to upgrade. So 30 Days of Night. That's movie number 1 here. Let's go back to the chat. And where were we? I think we were here. Yo, the cookies are the best part of the holidays. Here, okay. So let's ask this question now that cookies are being brought up. Are you a sugar cookies people? Like, I always loved the Pillsbury Doughboy like sugar cookies, and they'd have the Christmas tree or the snowman or a little reindeer. They would have those on them, and it's just like literally melt in your mouth, like those little chewy sugar cookies. Those I fucking love. If I'm going any other cookie, I'm going 2 kinds. And I'm not a big sweets guy, but around the holidays, yeah, you got to have some cookies. I agree. Entenmann's in that little blue white box, the most chewy, delicious, chocolatey cookie of all time, in my opinion. And then I'm going just regular Oreos. I love Oreos. I think Oreos are fantastic. So that would be like my top 3 cookies to eat around the holiday season. But let me know, what cookies do you guys like? 40 days for Grande to read all these comments. Yeah, I was going. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this movie, like what? 40 days and 40 nights, 40. We need no 4K, 40K. God damn it. We need the 40K of the Vanessa Shaw scene that you guys were telling me about. Like, what the fuck? LMFAO, Miss Carter. Let's see. Aiden says, I would love to see a miniseries just to flesh out the characters more. Other than that, it's still a solid movie. Yeah, I would. That's exactly my take on the movie. It's like, it's good, not great. It's passable. It's worth a watch. But man, like, what could it have been? And it would have been interesting to see a different directorial take, because unfortunately, this director really did not go on to do that much. Like, Hard Candy and this are his 2 big movies. Like, he never directed anything on the level or, magnitude as these 2 movies after this. So that's quite a shame, because I think David Slade had some talent. I like David Slade. I think he did a pretty good job. What up, Kara? You guys ever see the Chill Factor? Arrow Video released it a few years ago, and I did a blind buy. Far from good, but it provides good gore and atmosphere to keep you watching. I have seen Chill Factor. I do not have that Arrow Video release. I know they just did. Last year, they released The Leech, which is a really, in my opinion, fun, independent, like really, really ultra low budget horror movie with Jeremy Gardner in it. That I really liked. Let's see. The one with Cuba Gooding Jr. can't be. No, I don't think so. Salem's Lot and 30 Days of Night both end with the town burning down. That's right. Not too much, Mac. Just going with the flow. Okay. Yeah, Salem's Lot, 30 Days are so different, though, Aiden. That's true. Yeah, I would agree. Like, I get the parallel, but at the same time, yeah, I think it's definitely, there are different films. Sean, I did see Chill Factor on YouTube. I'll check it out. Alpha's here. Alpha, welcome, my friend. Hope all's well with you. I have a personal issue with that movie's title. Well, I mean, I could totally understand that, my friend. You being the diehard Romero fan that you are. So I totally understand. Well, I'm with you there, but to be honest, let's see. You guys talk about Cuba Gooding Jr. He was Sean Blue, The Ticking Clock. Let's see. Yeah, Russell, it's a fun slasher with snowy setting, but don't expect too much. One of the classic winter horror urban legends is the story of the Yeti, better known as the Abominable Snowman. There's a really good movie called Abominable with, oh my God, what's his damn name? He was in Deep Star 6. I can't think of the actor's name, but he does a good job in the movie. He's like a paraplegic, and he sees the Abominable Snowman. It's a really good movie. That's a damn good one. Yeah, that's perfectly fine, Aiden, but I'm just saying them two are like night and day, if you ask me. Understandable. 30 Days of Night, it's different, not the typical stuff I expect from a vampire movie. Let's see. The Ghost Keeper is another good snowy atmosphere. As long as there's no raisins, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, fuck those raisins. Nature's candy stinks, man. Shortbread is a big Christmas thing in the UK. Okay, interesting. Shortbread and sugar cookies all day, and those super thin cookies, forget what they're called. I like sugar cookies a lot. Granny, picking up that Ring 4K box set. If you're referring to the Shout Factory one, my answer is hell no, because that is a bunch of bullshit. To get the Ring 2 and Rings on 4K is a fucking joke. The only one of those 3 movies that's worth a shit is the Ring remake that Gord Verbinski did. The other 2 movies are a disgrace. And I have the Ringu collection from Arrow, which are all on Blu-ray. That set I recommend. I like Ringu and Ringu Zero quite a bit. David Slade did an excellent job on his episodes of Hannibal. That's right. He did. He directed a couple episodes of that. Best modern vampire film is Let the Right One In. Well, Russell, we're reviewing that one. Not next, but the following review. That review is going to end the show, my friend. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Ticking Clock is not a slasher. James grew up with the shortbread. Hell yeah, gotta love some shortbread. But all right, that leads me to our next movie here that celebrated its 20th anniversary this year. Of course, starring the legendary Ray Wise and Lin Shaye. This is Dead End. Yes, Dead End from 2003. Brief plot synopsis: Christmas Eve, on his way to his in laws with his family, Frank Harrington decides to try a shortcut for the first time in 20 years. It turns out to be the biggest mistake of their lives. Yes, Dead End from 2003. Funny, it's the first time in 20 years, and that this is the first time we're talking about the show, on the show here, which this movie is 20 years old this year, which is absolutely wild. So happy 20th anniversary on Christmas Eve, I guess you could say. It's that the official anniversary, 20th anniversary, although I'm sure the release date was a different day than that. This is an interesting movie. This is a movie that I've had a kind of a love-hate relationship with. And, I could tell you and remember exactly when I first watched the movie. I didn't really like it that much. It was one of those movies I saw it. I was younger. I watched it. I was like, eh. But upon rewatching it, a few times over the years, it's grown on me every time. It's really one of those movies that has grown on me. Now, it is classic. I mean, distinctly 2003 horror. Like it almost feels like if you were to preserve one horror movie that is a time capsule of that year, this would be the movie. Like it has that same 2003 schlock look, pace, feel, tone, acting, performances. They really don't make horror movies like this anymore. This is really, it's funny, 20 years ago, it's absolute insanity. This movie is that old, but it really does capture that era quite, uniquely. And this is a movie, like I said, like the first time I saw it, I was like, but upon, multiple reviewings, I quite enjoy the movie now. I think it's actually one of those movies a few times that has just kind of grown on me over the years. And I guess I could walk you through a little bit of what the plot is. It's basically this family, they're driving along the road, and basically they decide to take a shortcut, and they are on like this road for eternity. It feels like Eternity Road. And they encounter this woman who is dressed in all white and has this baby in her arms. And she has all these cuts on her head. And she's kind of like, all wigged out and shit like that. And, they let her in the car. One of the lady get out of the car, and then they're just driving along, and the hitchhiker vanishes. This woman vanishes. And then one by one, the family's kind of picked off in all these, unique, mysterious, and interesting ways. Not like slasher style, but very much more like psychological, eerie type backwoods kind of horror movie that I think works for the most part. It has a lot of that dreamsicle element that, a horror movie like this should have. It's really one of those horror movies. It's all one setting. It's all in one place. They're just on this road. They're on this highway the entire movie. They pull over a few times. They talk things a few times. There's some interesting, fun dialogue. Like there's fun dialogue between I thought Ray Wise and Lin Shaye did a great job. They steal this movie as the husband and wife in this, where the son is blasting the music in the car. He's like, turn that Marilyn Manson shit off. I don't care who she is, but I don't like her music. And Marilyn Manson's a guy, Dad. And Marilyn? It's a guy? Really? I thought that was funny. The son in this is quite annoying. Like he has like all these horrible, mean jokes. He's really an annoying, awful character where he's like, hey, Brad, have you ever had dick cheese? I bet you've had some dick cheese. And he just keeps oh my God, he's an annoying ass character. And he just keeps he's one of those characters that's like, oh, push your buttons. He pushes every button in the worst possible way. He's one of those characters you just want to kick through a field goal. He's just an awful, awful human being. There's literally a point where he goes off while all this horrific shit is happening. He's like, pull the car over. I got to pee. He goes off into the woods and just starts jerking off. Like the guy is literally a jerk off. I mean, what a horrible piece of shit, annoying character that he is, man. It's just one of those where you really want him to get his comeuppance, and he actually has the best death scene of the movie, which I guess rightfully so. But this is one of those classic examples of a horror movie that had an idea and had to lie on its creativity in order to work. You don't have the best technical aspects of this movie. You do have good actors. I do like all the actors. I like the actress that played the daughter here, who I haven't seen in much else. She's Alexandra Holden. I thought she did a good job as the daughter Marion in this movie. I thought she was good. But you don't have the big special effects. You don't have the big studio budget. What you have to do is rely on your creativity and try to create an atmosphere. And I thought this movie did that for the most part. Now, there's interesting scenes where one of the characters get picked off. You'll see this hearse that'll drive right past them, and it's driving really slowly. And each time you could see a person kind of banging at the back glass, like, let me out, let me out. I liked that. I thought that was, again, while it was a little bit gimmicky, while it's a little bit schlocky, if you will, cheesy, whatever word you want to use to describe horror that's kind of like makes your eyes roll or whatever. I liked it. I thought that worked. I thought that stuff was kind of fine in the movie. There's some interesting death sequences where, again, the son character who's just awful, you want him to die, he's in the woods, and all out of nowhere the woman in white shows up and just starts making out with him, and he's smoking pot and he's all stoned, and they make out and he goes, I love you. And then out of nowhere she's kissing him, and then you see she rips off his entire bottom lip. So his like lip is just completely off and bleeding profusely. And he's so high, he apparently doesn't notice. He doesn't realize. And then she drops her clothes, and she's a beautiful looking woman, but we don't see her naked. We just hear him scream, and then they cut away. And I was like, ooh, I was like, okay, that's an interesting death sequence too. Like you had this whole like lull you in with a beautiful woman. She's making out with me. Holy shit, she's taking her clothes off. She's bit, oh my God, all of a sudden my lip's been bit off. I'm bleeding profusely. And we don't see what she's got going on, but I can only imagine if he was to shriek like that, what she had going on underneath the white clothes. I liked that. I thought that stuff worked. That was very, very well done horror, in my opinion. And I think that a lot of it works. Like there's scenes where Lynn Shay, she's starting to lose her mind slowly but surely. She's like, hey, I think I just saw my friend back there. She's like, hallucinating and thinking she's seeing visions of her old friend. She decides to jump out of the car and her brains just scramble open. I was like, holy shit. Like that's some crazy ass shit. You do have the fiance of the daughter character, and he gets shown the baby. He's like, oh, what's that little guy's name? And she kind of turns it over and she's like, oh, well, my baby's dead. And she's laughing. And he's like, well, what do you mean? That's a weird joke. He looks, screams, and then that's it. He's gone too. Like they kind of systematically get picked off one by one by this woman who we don't know, where she is or why she is or what's going on. And for the most part, I thought it worked. I thought the characters do a good enough job. When it gets down to Ray Wise and, Alexandra Holden's character, the father and daughter, I thought that's where the movie started to have a little bit of heart. Like they're like the last two, and they're driving along, and Ray Wise starts to write down what he'll do if he gets out of this alive. And, I thought that part of it worked for a heartfelt sequence. Like he's writing down this thing where it's like, oh, things I want to do before I die, or things I want to do if I live. And I want to be a great grandfather, and I want to listen to Marilyn Manson CDs with my son. And he's really like regretting his entire life as this is all happening. I think he comes to like, a point where he's like, shit, like I may really die here. My family may really die here. Let me write out what I do if we're, lucky enough to get out of this situation. And, he kind of starts writing off these things. And I thought that was nice. They had a nice chemistry, the father and daughter in this. I always like Ray Wise. I think Ray Wise is just a great underrated actor. But you do get to the inevitable ending, which the first time I saw it, it ruined the movie for me. I was like, oh, like really? Like you went here with this? It's one of those movies that I wish none of it had been explained, but they go into the fact of over-explaining, which spoilers. If you have not seen Dead End, I warn you, here comes the big spoiler. I'm going to give away the entire movie right here with this ending. So if you want to see it, feel free to turn me out or tune me out. I could do here. I'll hold up the water bottle. This will be the spoiler talk right here. Basically, the ending is earlier in the film, we see Ray Wise. He almost falls asleep and crashes. He's like, oh, whoa. They pull over to the side and they start rolling, and we get the movie. You learn that they all died, exception of the daughter in that scene. And the daughter is really pregnant. And oh my God, what did they hit? Who did they hit? They hit another car, and it happens to be the woman in white and her baby. So that's like the whole thing. And then basically the entire movie we've been watching is this purgatory nightmare from the daughter's perspective, that her whole family and this innocent woman and her child have been killed. As I explained it, it doesn't sound that terrible, But in execution, when I first watched it, I really did have roll my eyes. I was like, that really? Like, I was like, like you had something going here. And then it just kind of like, tapered off to me. But I don't, upon a revisit, think it's as bad as I initially did. I think it's actually the only way you really can end this movie. Yeah, they were, because in other ways, like, how are you going to explain this really? And then they do this whole thing where there's a post-credit scene. Yeah, a horror movie that's not a, Marvel big budget movie. There is a post-credit scene in this where these two people on the road cleaning up the accident, they find the list that Ray Wise made, his bucket list, if you will. Like, oh, I want to, bond with my son. I want to be a good grandfather. I want to be a better husband. I think that was interesting because that's insinuating that maybe all this stuff was happening, and it wasn't all a dream and it wasn't all purgatory. That post-credit scene definitely throws a curveball at you. But to me, the ending is fairly like, it's basically telling you, yeah, it was all a dream. And then that's thrown in there to be like another option if you don't want to accept this ending. But I'm like, God damn it, like that was really the ending they went with. They might as well have just stuck with it. But that being said, there are other things about this movie that I do like. I do think this has an interesting family dynamic to it, in the horrors of family. And I know this is something that they tried in Krampus. They really, really tried to make that work in Krampus, the horrors of family around the holidays. I thought this movie did that way better. And it may not be as subtle. Granted, I don't think it was that all necessarily that subtle in Krampus either, but I thought here it was a lot more over the top and so in your face that you couldn't help but like, tell that's what they were going for. Like, you have all these relationships that are just strained. Like the opening 5 minutes, they're just fucking bitching at each other like it's a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Like, it's just like, do you have to drink the water like that? And like the son calling him, the sister a bunch of names, and the mother and the father, like all these people like talking to each other like they're shit, and instead of being family. And then they get into this accident that cost them their lives, and then all of a sudden when their lives and shit hits the fan, it's, oh my god, let's try to come together, let's be a family now. It's like, the old Jigsaw thing, like why is it when people lives are at stake, that's when they decide they realize and remember and care about the things they care about. Why is it not that way all the time? So it's an interesting kind of play on that and the horrors of family around the holidays. Like, oh god damn it, I want to kill so and so in my family, but at the same time, that's your family and you should love them and you should embrace them. And it is the holidays. And even though Ray Wise says, I hate your mother and your family and all this stuff, at the end, towards the end of the movie, he's regretting saying all that. And I was like, all right, like, I think that's an interesting ploy. I definitely think that stuff worked. And it goes hand in hand with Christmas. I think that's good Christmas horror element to use there. Family horror. Ray Wise's character does die in a very fun way where he's like taunting. He's like, come at me. If you want to kill my daughter, you'll have to get me first. He's really like going up in arms about it. And then out of nowhere, he just silenced and we don't see what happened. You're like, whoa. Like, he's like, oh, fuck it. And just you silence. And then it's just the next scene. It's just like, he was talking all this shit and probably just got his shit rocked. I thought that worked. I don't know. I like this one, but I'm curious to see what the chat thinks of this movie because I don't know. This is not one that's necessarily talked about all that much. I'd be very interested to see what you guys think. Let's see. Wow, we have quite a few comments. I think we were here. Sean Blue says, I actually just watched the trailer for Dead End today. Looks like a decent watch. I think it's a decent watch. I think it's worth a shot, Sean. I definitely do. It's not long. It's like an hour. If it's an hour 15, hour 20, so it's an hour 23. I just see here. Hour and 23. Yeah, it's like 80 minutes. Like the credits, yeah, it's like 80-minute movie. It's very short and it's definitely worth a shot. Another winter horror movie I love is Frozen. Oh, I love Frozen. I have reviewed that. I reviewed that and The Orphan back. It was like right before I got sick with COVID. It was like right before I got really, really sick. I think that was one of the last episodes I did before I got really fucking sick with COVID. If you want to check that one out, I did The Orphan and Frozen as a winter horror special. So I guess this is technically a series now. I've done more than one. I have never seen it, but oh, dude, yeah, no, I know you love Ray Wise from Twin Peaks and Fire Walk with Me and all that. And he's great in this. I think it's worth watching for them alone. And I love Lin Shaye. Lin Shaye's a scream queen, man. Frozen, a Adam Green film, the only good Adam Green film, in my opinion. I'm going to peep this one out when I can. Never watched it. It's free everywhere. It's on Freevee. It's on Tubi. You can watch this anywhere for free. And it's worth the watch. I think it's a good little Christmas horror movie that not enough people talk about. The Vanishing Hitchhiker is a classic urban tale. Absolutely. Like just a similar vein. It is very similar to the Hitchhiker episode of The Twilight Zone. Whereas, of course, the ending of that is this woman did die at the beginning and the hitchhiker is trying to take her up to heaven. I love that episode. I think that's great stuff. That's a lot better than this. Like they get the scares and the acting, and like it's just better on every level, especially ending. I think the ending sticks the landing a lot better than this movie does. Although I don't think it's as bad upon a rewatch. The ending was a little bit better this time around. The victims are killed with a knife or sharp tools. How is it not a slasher? So it's really not a slasher. Oh, the film opens with the mom killed in the bathtub, for goodness sake. How is that? Oh, okay, you're talking to Sean Blue. You're not even talking to me. Sorry. Yeah, Frozen has its memorable moments for a movie that's like 80% of a ski lift. The gore when the wolves start eating that guy is so obviously bad, but I enjoy the concept and usually watch it every year. I do too. Hey, didn't label it as the ticking clock. And okay, you guys talk to each other. Lost Boys sequel. Sorry, I mean remake. I wouldn't recommend anything outside the 87 movie. Yeah, that's true. Oh, no, bad ending. Yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on the ending. Eyes. We got the Explorer of Horror here, who was kind enough to recently review my short movie Down by the Bay. So, Nate, thank you so much for that. That was so cool. If you guys want, check out Nate's channel. He does awesome stuff. He also did a fun rant on The Exorcist Believer, or AKA The Exorcist Deceiver. It was a really fun rant video. So, Nate's stuff's been great lately. Shout out to Nate. Oh, so basically, it was all a dream. Basically, yeah. And I usually just groan at those. I was like, like, you had something here. Like it's one of those movies, as it goes on, it gets better. And then when it ends, initially, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, like you really could have kept going. And I think it would have worked. But I don't know. It's one of those movies that I do think is well enough on, like, because again, think about it this way. This is really low budget. You could tell they did not have much money here. I know we recognize Lin Shaye and Ray Wise, but I do not think the budget in this movie was much of anything at all. It was, of course, directed by a team here. It was John Baptiste, Andrea, and Fabrizi Canepa. I've not heard of them outside of this movie. I think one of them only ever did this movie. This movie did not even have $1 million budget. It had a $900,000 budget. And to me, this is amazing for having a budget that small. Like having under $1 million, and you were able to get Ray Wise and Lin Shaye and make a movie that's even half as good as this, to me, is an accomplishment. I think that with that budget, they did a great job. I would say that. I think, like, adjusted to scale, they did a really good job. Sean, okay, you guys still talking? Sub Cara, John, everyone, hope all is well. Of course, always hoping all is well. Let's see. I watched Dead End specifically for this show. Lin Shaye flipping out is the best part. I could have kicked myself at the ending when I finally got it. Yeah, that's I think Lin Shaye was fun, where she's like, my friend's out there, and she's gonna shoot Ray Wise. That bitch shot me in the leg. I mean, that stuff was all fun. I agree. Lin Shaye was fun. It was much better Lin Shaye going crazy here than in the Grudge 2020 from last week. That I will agree with. Always seen that poster, but never got the vibe to watch this one. See, I think you'd like this. I really think you would like this movie, Nate. I would say recommend this one. The Lost Boys remake has officially been announced. Has it really? That's wild. Good movie, Dead End till the end, then meh. I agree. I think the ending, though, when I first watched it, I was like, God damn, screw this movie. Now it's like, I could let it. I let it slide. It's one of those. It's like, and the rest of it was fine. I don't know. It's one of those I'm kind of in the middle of the road with. Let's see. There was once a series that Ray Wise was in called Reaper, and that's funny because the ending where they're in the hospital explaining that the car accident, you get the guy that's driving a hearse, and I think they're insinuating he's the Grim Reaper. So, I mean, I thought that was interesting. Thanks, man. Dude, anytime. Thank you. Happy holidays, fam. Evil Connor. Happy holidays, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Cheers. Always a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever the fuck. Happy holidays to you, my friend. You like Dead Snow? I like Dead Snow. I think Dead Snow 2 was a lot more fun. Like, Dead Snow 2 to me is what Dead Snow 1 should have been. I think Dead Snow 2 is a lot more fun. So I would say Dead Snow 2. Don't The Thing 2 have a dream ending? The Ring 2. My bad. The American Ring 2? If you're talking about the American Ring 2, I removed that movie from my memory. Granted, I do remember that The Orphan would go on to rip off the Ring 2, where Samara, for some reason in the Ring 2, wants to be, thinks she's the daughter of Naomi Watts. And it's like, mommy. And she's like, I'm not your fucking mommy. And then they do that in The Orphan. It's the same exact line. Instead of being pushed in the well, she's pushed down the ice. I was like, God damn it. That's like really weird. They did that twice there. That first kill scene with the daughter and Krampus, what's up? Scary as hell. Yeah, I don't know. Krampus, I reviewed last year. I did a Christmas special, and man, I never could get into Krampus. I don't know what it is about that movie. I don't think it's good. I agree. I think that's probably the best part of the movie is that sequence. But the rest of the movie, I just never quite liked. I don't know. I think it's sort of a miss. We got Jamie Hart in the Heezy. Hello, throwing hearts. Jamie Hart, hello as well. Yeah, no. By the way, yeah, Jamie Hart, she did this awesome thing where she actually nominated me for Horror Tuber of the Month, and I was like, "Oh, Jamie, thank you so much." But I did already win, so she did a new thing and added a new contestant. So the thought always counts, my friend. I appreciate you thinking of me, and I'm hoping that we get an awesome new winner as awesome as you. So hope all is well. Oh wait, I skipped one of your comments. Did I skip you? Oh no, okay. You were adding to the comment room before. Okay. Oh, yeah. I remember the F-bomb from Naomi. I was a big deal at the time. At Granny's Graveyard, that was the best part of the movie. I turned it off there. Yeah, no, I agree. If you turn it off there, I love Krampus. After that, though, the movie stinks. Like, oh, my God. Oh, God. What a missed opportunity was Krampus. Remember The Ring 2 being lame, at least Orphan. Oh, Orphan's a great movie. Orphan's great. The Ring 2 is a piece of monkey shit, man. I hate The Ring 2. And as much as I like that director, I like Hideo Nakata, that's a bad film. And by the way, Nate, since you're here, Nate, I got to show you, man. I'm rocking the Chris Jericho ugly Christmas sweater. He's making a list. And then it says, and checking it twice, you stupid idiot. This was an old Chris Jericho ugly Christmas sweater I got from like 2016. So I don't know. I'm a big Chris Jericho fan. And I was like, dude, I got to rock this on the show. Let's see. Yeah, not a big fan of Krampus either. It had such a great potential, but hated the face on the creature. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a movie where the ending, I think, ruins the end. Like, I think that totally ruins it. And like, where they're actually getting picked off other than the daughter, it just didn't work. They're going for the same type of family aspect horror that Dead End goes for. I thought Dead End did it better. I really do, because Dead End was more overt with it and it was better acted, I think. And I know a lot of people, I love Toni Collette. She should have won an Oscar for Hereditary. I love Adam Scott, whatever. They're no Lin Shaye and Ray Wise, man. Get out of here. No way, man. That's amazing. Yeah, I love this sweater, man. I love it. I actually, what's up, entertained by Orphan 2, not necessarily horror, but a good domestic thriller. I did not see the Orphan prequel. I actually heard it was really good. The director of it is what turned me off. William Brent Bell, who did, of course, The Boy and the killer video game movie called Stay Alive with Frank. Do people remember that? The Stay Alive movie with Frankie Muniz? It's about a killer video game that if you play the game, you die in real life. It was whole fucking horrendous movie. It literally had like PlayStation 2 graphics, and it was like, oh my god, like it was terrible. It was such a bad fucking movie. And then they let that guy direct so many other movies, like The Devil Inside, which is a piece of shit, The Boy and The Boy 2, which are pieces of shit, Stay Alive's a piece of shit. I'm trying to think. That guy has gotten so many chances, and I think he just stinks, man. He really, really stinks. But let's get back to comments here. Where was I? It skipped on me here. Whopper Horror, Brandon's in the house. Welcome, my friend. The writing of Krampus isn't that good. That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, I also would say the acting is just not like, okay, I know everyone hails Trick or Treat, and I know that was Michael Dartry's other film at the time. I know since he did Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which I liked better than Krampus, I'll say that. I feel like the acting really wasn't on point either. Like, they had the lady from 2.5 Men basically playing the same fucking role. You have all these kids that they were all assholes. And not to the point where it was like, oh, these are assholes that are entertaining. They just were assholes. Like, they're very much going for the Christmas Vacation, like, oh, we're in the house and all these wacky, colorful characters. It just didn't work. I don't know. I would agree the writing is the problem, but I wouldn't put it past. I don't think the direction's good, and I don't think the acting is necessarily good. I think the idea is interesting, But yeah, no, I agree that the writing is not good. It's definitely a step down from his previous movie. Was my autocorrect to Gene? Oh, no worries, gotcha. Ray Wise rules. Ray Wise is great. I love Ray Wise. LOL. Lynn Shay, great in horror film Hoboken Hollow and 2001 Maniacs. Oh, 2001 Maniacs, the sequel to 2000 Maniacs. That's one of those dumb fun horror movies for sure. I went into a weird spiral watching Krampus movies. I had no idea how many Krampus movies there are. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I watched the one that actually had a budget, and that was enough for me. If that's the creme de la creme of Krampus movies, don't watch Krampus movies. Mateo, John, with that sweater, pen clicking. Mateo Apatino, you know what happens to people that comment on my Christmas sweater on Grande's Graveyard here tonight on 12/14/2023 at 9:10 p.m.? You know what happens, Mateo? You just made a list. Grande's list, checking it twice. I love the Chris Jericho. That was such a fun gimmick back then in the day, man. It's so good, not scary, but certain kind of tension suspense orphan prequel. Okay, I'll have to give it a look. I know it's free. I think it's free on Prime, so I could definitely give it a look. Let me ask you this. I know the original movie had that winter aesthetic, and I think that goes hand in hand with the original Orphan. Does the prequel have that? Now, I know it necessarily doesn't have to, but for me, that's went hand in hand with it. I just avoided it because of the director. And I was also surprised that, they got her back to do that role because she's like, I think she's my age. I think the actress Isabel Furman who played the orphan, she's around my age. She's like 26, 25, 26, somewhere in that ballpark. And like she's so good in the first movie. I would be interested to see what she'd bring to that role now that she's like an adult grown woman. But at the same time, I'm sure I would. I don't know. At the same time, I stayed away from it. So if you're saying it's good though, maybe I'll give it a look. I remember Stay Alive. Yes, with fucking Frankie Muniz in the killer video game. And it was like, oh, we're playing. Like there was this fucking. Oh my god, that movie's horrible. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't. I don't want to get into it. Watching Wrong Turn 2022 and Exorcist Believer, aka Deceiver, is like getting burned by a fire. You learn to be careful, okay? Yeah, no, that's true. You get burned. Granted, I did not ever watch Wrong Turn 2022, but like I've seen enough fucking Wrong Turn. Here's the Wrong Turn movies you should watch. Wrong Turn 1 and Wrong Turn 2. And that's it. Don't watch any other Wrong Turn movie. I know for some reason, and I've reviewed this movie, probably one of the biggest rants I ever had on this channel was when I reviewed Wrong Turn 3 through 6. I fucking freaked out. And I think that is the number one most watched episode I ever did. I think it's like 8,000 views. It's like mostly just me fucking freaking out and losing my mind. I think I threw the Wrong Turn 3 DVD at a point. Like at that episode of Granny's Graveyard, I got my most mad for sure. So I don't know why, but that seems to be the one that got the most views. So it is what it is. Yes, I do. LOL. Oh my god, I need to rewatch that trash. Oh, I can see Bertie. He's gonna send me a voice chat later. Grande. Let me tell you something about I'm not Dead End. Let me tell you something about Stay Alive with Frankie Muniz. It's amazing. Okay, we're gonna watch it on Discord sometime. Like I'm waiting for that voice message later. It's amazing. Like Bertie with a bunch of eggnogs in him. He's gonna be like, "Hey, Grande, it's amazing." Okay, I actually enjoy Stay Alive. It's weird, and I like weird. Well, to each their own, Miss Hart. To each their own, my friend. I saw that and was like flabbergasted. I was like, what the fuck? Like, how did they ever let him make another movie? And they didn't let him do tons of other horror movies. And a lot of them were successful financially, never critically, though. I was a little disappointed by Stay Alive. A little? They should have gotten a Final Destination guys to do it. Really? Oh my, okay, you need to expand. Why? Why the hell? Why would the Final Destination like explain yourself? I need this explained, man. Please tell me. Dr. Mad Studio, that's a first time name. Hi, folks. Greetings from Britain. Hope all is well. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. All the way from Britain, man. Get some gnarly kills in there. I love Grande sweater. Thank you so much. Gotta love Y2J. Not much happening in my corner of the world. I start slowing down the winter anyway for obvious reasons. Don't we all? I honestly don't remember, which means it must not have been too obvious. LOL winter theme. Okay. Let's see. Just been reading the works of Ramsey Campbell, a British horror writer. who I'm very good friends with because we both live in the same region. Oh, that's really cool, man. You can tell she's older, but you just suspend that and stay along for the ride. Well, yeah, that's just like the new Saw movie that everybody freaked out and loved. It was like, Tobin Bell looks like he's 80 and it's supposed to be 60. Fuck it, it don't matter. A4 is fun too. Oh, here it comes. Here comes the Wrong Turn 4 fucking gang here. No, Wrong Turn 4 is a bunch of fucking bullshit. All right. But let me tell you something. Wrong Turn 4. Wrong Turn 4 is fucking horrible. Now I know what you're gonna. I don't even know. I have not read the comments past Mystic Mac. I didn't look because if I scroll too far, it skips all of them. So I'm going one by one here. So I don't know what the fuck people are. I'm hoping not defending this movie, but if I have to, I'm a fucking defend the righteous honor of the first two movies, which are the only two worth of shit. Wrong Turn 4, fucking, it's a prequel now. We're going to learn where fucking Three Fingers lost his fucking three fingers and shoved him up his fucking ass. There's a fucking guy who gets fucking strapped down to a table. They rip off parts of his skin and fucking fry it in fondue. And they're like, what should we do? Should we help him? Help this motherfucker. He's being eaten like he's a Betty Crocker cheese fondue. And you stood there with your fucking thumbs up your candy asses. You sat there and didn't help this motherfucker. They're eating this guy like he's a fucking parfait. And fucking the one lady, I'm gonna burn them alive. They have them all in the cell. They've won the movie. Like a quarter into the movie, I'm going to burn them alive. Oh, I know they deserve it, but you don't. What? They're a bunch of cannibals that ate your friends like he was a fucking Betty Crocker fondue, and they don't deserve to be burned alive? A bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense. You have this fucking lady. I'm going to ski for it. I'm a fucking crazy bitch. I've got no fucking coat on. I don't want to grab my coat. I'm going to ski down the mountain in sub-below fucking weather and make it, and she fucking freezes to death. And at the end, oh my God, let's ride. Let's fucking ski, get on a jet ski together, and they both get decapitated because the cannibals knew that they were going to be riding down the mountain and get double decapitated. Holy shit. That movie is atrocious. I hate Wrong Turn 4. And I know for whatever fucking reason, people are like, I think it's one of those maybe, and I have not read the comments yet, so I'm sure people will be like, fuck you, man. Wrong Turn 4 is amazing. Fair enough. But it's one of those movies, maybe it's just so fucking stupid that people give it the pass and they like the winter aesthetic. I think that's probably the only two reasons you have. And it's also over the top and a piece of shit, but it is what it is. And there also, one more thing, you get a guy hanged by barbed wire and it looks like dog shit. I hate Wrong Turn 4, but I'm sure this is going to spark an interesting discussion before we review Let the Right One In to end the stream. At least 3 of Ramsey Campbell's books have been turned into films. It surprises me there isn't many adaptations of his work. Okay, you're definitely a fan of this guy. Preach Grande, stay away from Wrong Turn after part 2. Hell yeah, Miss C. See, I'm on the same page with you there. I like the first Wrong Turn, but even that is stretching it. So you're not a fan of part 2. See, I like part 2 a lot. I think part 2 is the best of the bunch. Which Wrong Turn movie was it where they were filming the reality TV show? That's part 2. Grande, I need a link to that Wrong Turn rant. Oh, so it's a whole episode. Like I reviewed all of them. And like I freaked the fuck out. Like I oh my God, that is the most mad I ever got on Grande's Graveyard for sure. 2 Mac is my favorite. I would agree with that. Impression is on point. Yeah, Murdsy. See, Murdsy does amazing. Like he does Michael Caine. You would think it's Michael Caine. His impressions are amazing. They're amazing, Grande. Skinamarink makes Stay Alive look like a masterpiece. I did not watch Skinamarink. But holy shit, I could only imagine. I feel like I would have a brain aneurysm if I tried to watch that. Nate's laughing. The fondue scene is amazing. Oh my God. Oh, just terrible. It's basically if Tommy Wiseau wrote a Wrong Turn movie. Oh my God. Oh, hi, Mark. Instead of the fucking guy, help, Tommy. Oh, hi, Mark. He's getting fucking fondue. Get the Final Destination crew, James Wong, Craig Perry, Glenn Morgan, I'm assuming, because they make crazy accidental death scenes and all the real life death scenes. If you die in the game, you die in real life. Stay Alive were mid. Okay, it's amazing, Grande. It's amazing. It's like Saw 3D. Grande, it's amazing. I'm like, what the fuck? Most of Ramsey's book. Okay, you are a hardcore Ramsey fan. Let's see. Wrong Turn 2 is all that matters. Wrong Turn 2022 was a slight against God. Oh shit. See, I agree. Wrong Turn 2 is the best of the bunch there. I love that movie. I thought it was so fucking fun. I love the second one. To me, I always say this, it's a better remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre than the actual fucking remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I really like Skinamarink, but I'm pretty sure it took me 3 days to get through it as well. Sorry I came out of nowhere. I've been live stream hopping, hence how I find myself here. Well, that's okay, my friend. I'm happy to have you at all, man. Thank you. I'm with Mernsey on this too. Fun to hate. Bro, come on. A girl gets shredded to bits from a snow ski. Dude, and one lady, she gets like, I don't even know what you would call it, like a hand crank, like to the chest. And she's like, ah! Fucking horrible. Granny's cooking. Hell yeah, we're cooking in this motherfucker. Dude, the ending with the barbed wire made me cry. Okay, yeah, see, again, it seems like the positives that Wrong Turn 4 get is it's fucking so funny of how bad it is. So I mean, that's totally up to the eye of the beholder. Like if you have a so bad it's good movie, I could totally understand that. I actually just got fucking mad with it. Hello guys, you got me drifting over here, and now you've got Grani going off. I don't know. I do remember watching Wrong Turn once, but that was very long time ago. Never seen the sequels. Well, after part 2. That's all right. You hit the brakes, my friend. You go back to reading the author you were talking about. I didn't take 3 days to watch it. I sat through the whole thing. That's why I was pissed for 3 days. That filter was horrible. Gave me a headache. Okay. CGI is awful. It is. Skinamarink, elevated horror masterpiece. Really? Oh my God. I hope you're fucking kidding. I actually can't remember Wrong Turn 2. I think I need to see it again. I think you'd like it. Anyone here follow YouTuber Good Bad Flicks? He's done a ton of videos, Forgotten Horror. I don't watch Good Bad Flicks. I do not. Elevated Horror, all I saw was light, shadow, and feet. And apparently cartoons. I've heard that kids watch cartoons in it. Yeah, I had to turn it off. Okay. Stay away from Skin of a Poop Grande. You would lose it. Oh, I probably would. That would probably be really, really bad. But we veered off. We veered off the beaten track, so I apologize for that. But it is what it is. Dead End, I think, is definitely worth a watch. It is a lot better than the piece of shit, Stay Alive, in my opinion. Dolly Dearest was the horror flick that haunted my childhood. It didn't help that my older sister had actual dolls on the bedroom shelves. Well, that will add to the horror there, my friend. Let's see. Very true, Jamie, but I don't want him to have a stroke. Yeah, no, you don't want me to have a stroke. That's good. Sorry, Granny. Oh, no. Hey, that's what Granny's great. I love the chat. I love talking with you guys. You guys are part of the highlight of my week, which is Grande's Graveyard. So very, very fun. Always shooting the breeze with you guys. And like I've talked about most of those movies on past shows. So if you want to hear me go fucking crazy, you can watch the Wrong Turn episode. It's got like 8,000 fucking views. So it is what it is. But coming up lastly, but not leastly, here on the Winter Horror Special is the best movie we'll be talking about here tonight. And in my opinion, an all-time great horror movie. This is, of course, from the land of Sweden. And in my opinion, one of the better modern-day vampire movies. This is from the year 2008. This is Let the Right One In. Yes, Let the Right One In. Brief plot synopsis. Oscar, an overlooked and bullied boy, finds love and revenge through Ellie, a beautiful but peculiar girl. Yes, Let the Right One In. Now, this is one of those horror movies that came out in 2008. It sort of struck a nerve. Like, this is one of those horror movies that really, I remember at the time, I was probably ending elementary school. But this was one of those movies that had a lot of hype. A lot of people were talking about it. It was a big, like, hyped up movie. And I remember really, really wanting to see it. I was like, dude, I've got to see Let the Right One In by any means necessary. And I forget how I first watched it. It might have been on one of those, like, FearNet, or I may have rented it. I don't remember the initial, like, how I viewed the movie. But I've loved it ever since the first time I saw it, because I thought it was just such an interesting and unique vampire tale to tell in the backscape and drop, if you will, of a winter aesthetic, a winter theme. Now, of course, you have this boy Oscar, who is bullied horribly at school. These kids call him a pig. They taunt him by oinking and pushing him down and smacking him in the face and cutting his face even at a point. And he's just having a horrible life. He has these fantasies of fighting these bullies back. He even has this fantasy of stabbing one of them. He's like, back, fuck you, and pretends to stab this thing. And then he meets the literal girl next door in the apartment, who is Ellie. And she, of course, seems a little bit weird at first. They strike up this interesting friendship, which starts to blossom slowly but surely and kindle into this sort of romance between the two of them. But of course, while we know what Oscar is, Ellie is not what meets the eye. Ellie is this different creature that he's trying to figure out. And at first, he thinks she's just kind of this weird loner girl, but we know that she's a vampire. Ellie is a vampire. And of course, this movie has all the classic vampire rules. Of course, you can't be exposed to sunlight. You have to be, feeding on the blood in order to survive. And lastly, and most importantly, hence the title, you have to be invited in. You have to let the right one in. But if you're not invited in, you see what happens finally in this movie if you go into a home without being invited in. You have this awesome scene where she walks in. He's like, kind of like, what would happen if I didn't invite you in? She goes in and she just starts profusely bleeding from every orifice she has. I was like, whoa. I was like, that is really interesting take on what would happen if you don't invite the vampire in. I thought that was cool. It comes in anyway. Okay, you bleed profusely and, okay, you can come in. You can come in. I thought that worked. I think this is a deeper horror movie, and I know the whole elevated. I can see somebody slapping that on this, but I think this is really a movie about the horrors of bullying, and probably first and foremost, the horrors of loneliness. Here we have two characters, Oscar and Ellie, who suffered through the horrors of loneliness. Oscar, this bullied kid, his father really not as much in the picture. His mother loves him, but she only has so much time. She's kind of that single mom that's struggling and working hard. You have Ellie, on the other hand, who lives next door, who is, feeding off some of these people in the town. She doesn't necessarily want to be doing the things that she's doing. She's sort of a tragic character. And we get more of her backstory. We learn that she's not necessarily a girl. She says a few times, I'm not a girl. You get the idea that, and this is not going to be for the faint of heart, but she was castrated as a child and she was really born a boy, and then now like kind of grown up to be a vampire-esque woman who's been, mutilated, unfortunately. And that's like, that stuff in it is just like, holy crap. Like, you don't know the backstory here. He asked her, like, how old are you? I'm 12, I thought that worked too, because she easily could have been, I'm 387. That wouldn't have worked. Like, I'm 12 and I've been through it all. I've been through all this horrible shit in life. And, in Oscar, she finds a silver lining and vice versa with him. He loves her. She loves him. They really kindle this really unique and beautiful friendship. And I thought that was really something interesting to see in a vampire-esque horror film. I was like, wow, that's not something I thought I was going to get here, but I'm really liking how this is being portrayed. Meanwhile, the horrors of loneliness and bullying are being on full display. And I thought that stuff was a really interesting way to take a movie like this. Now, the director, Tomas Alfredson, I think he does a really good job. He's, of course, unfortunately gone on to do the Snowman movie, which I know was a movie that had terrible production issues and fights and issues on set. So that's a shame. But he also did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Gary Oldman, which I believe was nominated. I think Gary Oldman got nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards for that. So that's a good movie. I like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's a good one. I think Tomas Alfredson did a good job directing. And I think he does a great job here. I think you feel the cold. You feel that great wintry aesthetic of this film. I think it's one of those movies that, like, when you watch it, you definitely can feel that, like, the vibe it's going for. It is a little bit slower paced. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit cold and eerie. But I think it works. I think all of those aspects make it work. I like that part of this movie. But let's go back to comments. Let's see what you guys have to say about this. I'm curious to see. Let's see. Heard good things about this one. Yeah, it's definitely a positively reviewed movie. There is a lot I could appreciate from Skin and Marink, but it does test your patience. One of those movies that can easily put you to sleep. Well, you got to have a good, insomnia beating movie. Love the Beatles poster behind you. Hell yeah, man. I actually live not far from Liverpool, where the band came from. One of the best bands of all time, man. Thank you for adding this one, Grande. One of my favorite vampire films. I love it too. I think it's a great movie. So I've seen the remake. Remember seeing it in theaters. Pretty sure Richard Jenkins is in it. Never seen the OG. Heard it's great, though. I think it's great. And I know the remake is very highly rated. It has an over 7 on IMDb. It's directed by Matt Reeves, who had done like Cloverfield at the time. Now he's directing 3-hour Batman epics. But I mean, I've heard it's really good. I think Chloe Grace Moretz is in the remake and Richard Jenkins. I've not seen the remake, so I couldn't tell you. But I've heard it's one of the better ones for what that's worth. The pool scene, in my humble opinion, is one of the most memorable scenes in modern horror movie. Yeah, we got to talk about that. We definitely let me finish these comments and we're going to talk about that because that is like one of the best vampire flicks out there. Absolutely. I rented Let the Right One In for Blockbuster and didn't hate it. That's a pretty glowing review from me. Yeah, that's true. You are a tough critic, my friend. But I mean, yeah, if you didn't hate it, then it definitely it is like at least an 8 out of 10 for probably most people. Let Me In is also worthy one, but obviously Let the Right One In is the better movie. Okay, so there we go. Sean Blue's seen both. And okay, that's cool to see that the remake is a worthy movie. But Mateo mentioned in this, I definitely want to mention this because I would agree with that. Now, I mean, there is some interesting sequences in this. Some of them, like the cat scene doesn't work now. Like that, I watched that last night. I was like, damn, that really does not hold up. Where this one woman, she gets bit and she's infected, and like she goes to visit these two guys, and one of them has like a crazy cat collection, and all these CGI cats jump on this lady. That I was like, wow, that like really aged like dog shit. Where I was like, wow, like this is like, oh my God, I wish they had a mulligan on this scene. Like, give me something else. Like, this is that one scene just did not work. And this lady, she is in the hospital and she realizes her fate. Like, okay, I have the bite marks. I'm going to turn. And she tells the doctor, knowing her fate, open the blinds. He does. And she just bursts into flames. That effect worked. That effect was amazing. I was like, wow, like, that's a great special makeup effect, though, when she's burning alive and screaming bloody murder in the bed. That worked. You do have some interesting sequences where, the boy is told, she's like, you have to hit them hard, hit them back hard. Don't let them do this to you. Stand up for yourself. And he does. And he's like, hey, I did it. I stood up for myself. Their relationship really carries it. I think it's a very sentimental horror movie. It does have all these dark things going on, but at its core, it really is a more sentimental, dramatic movie, with that horror element of a vampire being one of the two leads. But I like, again, I guess Mateo says it right here, though, the pool scene, I agree with him, is fantastic, where you have these bullies who have finally been hit back. Oscar hits one of them back with a branch, and the kid's bleeding and he cries like a bitch. And he's like, yeah, I stood up for myself. Oscar's going to the gym. He's working out, trying to get in shape so he can defend himself against these kids. It's like 3 or 4 of them. And Oscar's at one point in the pool, and these kids kind of set something on fire outside. And, the teacher runs out and the kids run in to kind of take out Oscar. And they hold him underwater. He's like, let's see how long you can hold your breath. Let's see if you can hold for 3 minutes. He's holding them in. Even the other kids are like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. And I thought what was so brilliant from Tomas Alfredson's standpoint is the shot is the kid under the water. And we see the hand, like, I guess in this, we see the hand holding the kid, underwater by his hair. And we hear faintly, you hear through the water aesthetic, what's going on. And then you see this kid's feet hit the water. He's getting dragged up, flying up. You see the kid that's holding him, his hand falls in the water. We see a head. We see all this craziness, but we never cut the shot. The whole shot is focused on the kid underwater, and we hear what's going on. We see glimpses of what's going on. And then, of course, we come up, and then it's just all over with. There's the aftermath. I agree with Mateo. I think that is a wonderfully directed scene. And I thought the style there to stick on that one shot and not show it. Whereas, that the CGI cat effects, that look bad. We've seen vampire attacks in movies. We feel this one, though. I think it's one of those scenes and shots where it makes you use your other senses. You hear faintly the screaming, and you have to fill in that blank with your mind. And I think that horror element really works. I liked that scene, too. I thought that's the highlight of the movie. When I first saw it, I felt the same way, Mateo. I was like, that's what makes this a fucking, above average, above and beyond really good horror movie, is that pool sequence. I would agree wholeheartedly with that. And like, I think the story works too. I really get invested in these characters. I think these are, the actors did a really good job. I want to get their names here. Oscar is Carrie Hedebrandt, and Lena Leanderson is Ellie, and I thought they both did a really, really wonderful job. That they had nice chemistry with one another, and I thought they made this vampiric tale, quite entertaining to watch, and I know it is a slower paced film. It runs about almost 2 hours. I felt they made it fly by. I really thought it really worked. I really like Let the Right One In. I think it's just from top to bottom what modern horror should be, and I think that even though it's more serious toned and it's not, very gratuitous or over the top, it's a slow burn, but it's talking about different types of horror. It's not your straight up vampire movie where I want to suck your blood. It's not necessarily that type of movie, and nor should it be. That really wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. Where it's funny, the first movie we were talking about, I would have went way more grotesque here and really ups the gratuity. This movie, it's so perfectly dialed back. This is one of those movies that's dialed down to like 5 or 4. It's very quiet and stoic, but that helps create the atmosphere that the movie is going for. And I thought that really worked about Let the Right One In. Slasher Fred says this movie is like a vampire version of Carrie. You have the school outcast who is the target of bullying. That's a good point. Yeah. And then instead of, him having telekinesis, his friend is a vampire. That's definitely a good way to put it. And I know, funny enough, I believe Chloe Grace Moretz is in the remake Let Me In, who would go on just a few years after that to play Carrie White in that horrible piece of shit remake. I love the Angela Bettis one, but I hate the Chloe Grace Moretz one. I hate that movie. But yeah, these things come full circle, my friend. They really do. But I think Let the Right One In is a damn good horror movie to me. A movie that I think more people. Well, at the time, it was a really big deal. Now it's one of those movies that you don't hear it talked about as much. I don't know if this is one of those movies that didn't necessarily have the legs of other horror movies that had that kind of steam at the time, but it is one that at the time it was a big deal. And now it's really not mentioned as much. And I wonder why that is. I wonder maybe because it is a slower burn, maybe because it is a slower pace, more dramatic type of horror movie, but I don't know. I don't know really why that is. I think it works in every level. I think it works in every layer. I think it's a really good, solid horror movie. So that is Let the Right One In from 2008. I really enjoy this movie. Highly recommend it, man. I really do. I think it's a damn good one. So that has been the 3 reviews, of course. 30 Days of Night, of course, Dead End, and of course, Let the Right One In from 2008. I really enjoyed these movies. If I had to rank or rate Let the Right One In, I'd come in at like a 9. I think it's a damn good one, man. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. Well worth your watch if you have not seen it. I think it's damn good. And I think it's one that, like I said, at the time got its praise, but now is definitely kind of faded away. And I think that's a bad thing. I think we should bust out more, Let the Right One In viewings, and especially around the winter season. Why the hell not? I think that would be a good time to do it. Unless anybody else has anything else you want to talk about on this thing, I don't know, we can wrap this show here. I can preview next week's show in the meantime. Next week, we will have, of course, a horror roundtable where King Gore, of course, the cabinet of Dr. Howdy, Will, and good old Il Pinguino, Jeff, will be joining me for a fun roundtable. I think we're on horror roundtable number 7 now. So we'll be doing all things horror roundtable, 4 guests, 2 topics a guest, 0 regrets only on the graveyard. So I'm looking very much forward to that. And then the following week after Christmas, we'll have Anthony back on the show where we'll be talking all things Twilight Zone Season 1, Part 2. So I'm very excited for the next couple of shows. We're going to have some fun, creative, colorful content creators and guests. So I'm excited to work with them. Let's see. We do have a couple of comments before we end here. Have you seen A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night? Yes, I have. I know that movie's beloved, and I liked it okay. It is one that I would dare say it's a little bit over pretentious, where I was like, I was getting into it and I just felt it just went a little bit too far in the pretentious step, but it was okay. I thought it was okay overall. I only watched it the one time. I don't know. I know now it's like considered like a classic, and I feel like the director. What did the director go on to do? Let me look this up here. I'm gonna have to cheat here because I believe the director went on to do another movie of note that I can't think of for some reason. I think it was a female director. Let's see. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night from 2014. I saw when it came out. Anna Lily Amirpour. Okay, so it was a woman director. What was the movie that she did, though? She did The Bad Batch, which I remember being quite bad. She did The Twilight Zone. She did 2 episodes of the Twilight Zone remake. That's fucking unfortunate. She did an episode of the Guillermo del Toro series, The Outside. Okay. No, I haven't seen much of her other work, but I remember I thought it worked in some ways, but overall it was like one of those movies where I was like, damn, like I don't know, I wanted to like it more than I did, if that makes any sense. Have you ever seen Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan, another great winter film? Oh, dude, of course, Billy Bob fucking Thornton, man. I love that. That's actually wow, I have not watched that in years. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, Mernsy, if we do another Discord watch party, we should do Bad Santa and A Simple Plan. We'll do a little bit of Billy Bob double feature, Christmas and winter style. Other than 30 days, I haven't had much to say. Been great to catch one live. Dude, we're glad to have you here, man. I appreciate you showing up to the show. I know you said you had been busy lately, and yeah, we're all definitely busy around the holidays, man. I got my birthday coming up, and I'm excited for that. But like, yeah, no, work has been, it's funny. It's either slow or it's crazy. It's one or the other with work. So it's been really like very bipolar days at work. But when it comes to buying stuff for people and planning birthday dinners and plans and all these things, just absolutely crazy. I love December. It's my favorite month, but man, like it's definitely we're in the thick of it right now. So I've been really busy too, man. I totally appreciate you, finding the time to watch my show. It means the world. I found your Wrong Turn show. I'm planning to watch. Oh my God. I feel like no one enjoys watching me freak out more than you. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Please message me when you watch it or comment or whatever you want to do, because I would love to hear what you think of my Wrong Turn. After I talk about the second movie, it's like an hour of me fucking freaking out. So definitely some entertaining stuff you can watch over the weekend here. But everybody, I want to thank you all for being such a wonderful guest, wonderful chat, and I love you guys. I was going to say guests, but you're not really guests. You're chat people this week. Next week, we'll have some guests in the following week. But I want to say thank you guys as always. Always really fun to shoot the breeze and talk all things horror with you guys. Like I said, next week, Horror Roundtable number 7. Looking very much forward to that. And we will catch you next time only on The Graveyard. Have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. Too sweet peace. And we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.